Now that like rats off the Titanic, Freeland, Jolie, Galbo are all running away from Carney's cabinet as the fact that they are straight up thieves is being revealed to the Canadian people. Freeland sending $1 billion contract to China to build 3 ferries when it could have easily been built in Canada. Jolie claiming that she did not read a $15 billion deal that Stellantis signed with the Canadian government while she was the Minister of Foreign Affairs. $15 billion deal. Stellantis packs up and leaves Canada. Jolie then shockingly makes the claim she did not read the deal, nor did any of the lawyers close to her. Galbo, who was rumored for months to be involved in hundreds of millions of dollars from the corrupt green slush fund being siphoned off to companies that he's involved with. That is 3 senior cabinet members for Mark Carney who just in the past couple of months are fleeing like rats on the Titanic. But I do not want the Canadian people to forget that these are not people who have just arrived now that Carney was elected our PM 7 months ago. These are all members of Justin Trudeau. Justin Trudeau's cabinet. Carney actually wound up keeping about 90% of the cabinet members that Trudeau had utilized. And this entire culture of grift and stealing from the Canadian people was not started under Mark Carney. Don't get it twisted. Carney has continued the grift going. There's absolutely no doubt about it. Between his green initiatives and his interest in Brookfield Asset Management, Carney is absolutely making money hand over fist. But Trudeau is the guy in Canada who really set our federal government ablaze and made it acceptable for politicians to literally, not exaggerating, steal from the Canadian people. Whether we're talking SNC-Lavalin, the We Charity scandal, the Arrive Can-App scandal, Great Point Academy scandal, there are actually too numerous to go through. But Trudeau was undoubtedly the most corrupt prime minister that we have ever had in this country. And he set the table. He set the table through his actions as our prime minister, consistently breaking the law for people like Galbo, Jolie, Freeland. They say the rot comes from the top, and that's certainly true in Canada. So when people looked at pinpoint a time for when Canadian politics went off the rails and we became governed more like a third world country than a G7 great power, look no further than Justin Trudeau. There has never been a prime minister in Canadian history who has had an ethics commissioner come out, literally throw their hands up and say, "What do you want me to do?" They don't follow ethics on any of the hundreds of contracts that are signed, which is exactly what happened in the case of Trudeau. When it comes to SNC-Lavalin, the scandal that were any citizen other than Trudeau, he clearly leaned illegally on Jody Wilson-Raybould. The RCMP had 15 people ready to testify against Mr. Trudeau. They only wound up listening to 3 of the 15. A total cover-up. They didn't have Jody Wilson. They didn't even have Justin Trudeau. They didn't have him come and sit down when he clearly illegally leaned on Wilson-Raybould to get the prosecution thrown out and just fines put on SNC-Lavalin. Disregarding SNC-Lavalin, the Arrive Can-App scam, a scam that could have been built for a couple $100,000, wound up costing the Canadian taxpayer $500 million, cycled to, again, Trudeau insiders. Great Point Academy, I'm not going to go into much, but there are strong rumors that Trudeau had inappropriate relations with very young women, which is why he was let go there. We Charity, Trudeau accepted a $250,000 vacation from Aga Khan, who's actually also involved in the Epstein scandal. could be some connection there between Carney and Maxwell. Accepted a $250,000 vacation on the Canadian taxpayers' dime. Again, no criminal charges, nothing was brought. So this culture that we're not now seeing with the rats jumping off the ship in Jolie, Freeland, Golbo. Remember, the Carney is not the guy who started this culture. Carney has certainly continued the culture of grift. There is absolutely zero doubt about that. Carney is a thief. I don't doubt that for a second. $85 billion leave Canada, but his own personal assets go up 45% in the same period of time. That does not strike me as a man who's working hard for the Canadian people. Same with the grain initiative, same with his refusal on behalf of Canada to take advantage of our LNG or our oil, while at the same time stating that Canada cannot take advantage of our incredible opportunities in LNG and oil. He says absolutely. He gives the green light to his own Brookfield subsidiaries that take advantage of oil. It's rules for thee, not for me. Very typical. But I hope that we just wind up getting full investigations, because the closer I look into Freeland, the closer I look into Jolie, the closer I look into Golbo, it becomes more and more apparent that the Canadian government is run by a bunch of crooks who have been, it is not an exaggeration to say, it is not an overstatement whatsoever to say that they have been stealing the Canadian taxpayer dollars for a decade. You think that all of a sudden we're running up $78 billion deficits out of nowhere? No, these guys are crooks. These guys are stealing from the Canadian people, and we need to keep shouting from the rooftops until the RCMP is willing to actually do their job. Please like, share, subscribe, join, become a member, donate, grab some gear. Really appreciate everyone who supports.